Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, Appalachia Cemetery Hunting. Now, we're going to continue our long series of the videos of cemeteries in the Great Smoky Mountains of East Tennessee. So we're out of Cades Cove right now. So today's video, we're going to be in the Boone Cemetery in Blount County, Tennessee. Now the map shows that the cemetery is south of Maryville, Tennessee, and is just over the Smoky Mountains from Cades Cove. I'm going to give you just a few seconds to look at that. Now there's 103 people buried here, so let's go ahead and get started. We have Annie R. Arrowwood, 1903 to 1919. And just look at that beautiful carving on her headstone. I love those carvings. Then there is Fanny, also known as Fannia Barrett Arrowwood, 1802 to 1872. And her husband, John Arrowwood, and he's known as the Indian Fighter, 1797 to 1864. And it's believed that he's buried on his land in Mitchell County, North Carolina, which is just across the state line of Tennessee. Now, towards the end of the War of 1812, John enlisted at Jonesboro in Washington County, Tennessee, as a substitute for Jesse Arrowwood, who had been drafted. John traveled 100 miles to Knoxville, where on September the 20th of 1814, he was mustered into service as a private in Captain Abner Pierce's company of the 3rd Tennessee Militia. In the following spring, he was discharged at Fort Williams in central Alabama. And on April the 10th of 1815. Now, after selling his final pay voucher to a man in western Tennessee, he returned to Jonesboro. We don't know how he got his nickname. Did he fight the Indians, or was he an Indian that fought in the war? Anybody knows that history? Please let me know. I can't find anything on it. Okay, so now we've got Henry C. Arrowwood, 1854 to 1916, and his wife, Sarah Ellen Elizabeth Whitehead Arrowwood, 1862 to 1924. We also have Manda Ella Britt Arrowwood, 1911 to 1932. We don't have a picture of her grave. We do have a death certificate shown here, and it states that she died of tuberculosis. Man, I know a lot of my family history. When I look up their death certificates, that's a big thing, tuberculosis. So sad. Next, we have Mary Hauser Arrowwood, 1874 to 1936, and there's no picture of her grave either, but her death certificate says she died of pneumonia. Robert O. Arrowwood, 1891 to 1942. James Elbert Arrowwood, 1891 to 1964. And Jason Lee Beasley, 1979 to 1980, just a baby. Joseph Thomas Bell, we don't have a birth date for him, and he was only an infant when he passed, so we're thinking born and died possibly 1991. And here's another Fanny Boone. We have no dates for her. We have a Frances Theodora, also known as Dory Whitehead Boone, 1864-1909. Johnny Boone, 1888 to 1900. Virgil Boone, we don't have any dates for him. Absalom Boring, 1832 to 1922, and Absalom served as a private in the Company L of the 2nd Tennessee Cavalry in the Union Army during the Civil War. We have Francis Dove Boring, 1921 to 1924. And bless her heart, she was only 3-year-old when she passed. We have Isaac Ross Boring, 1845 to 1922. And Isaac served in Company L of the 2nd Tennessee Cavalry in the Union Army in the Civil War. And we actually have a photo of him later in life. Look at that. We have James H. Boring, 1895 to 1924. James Marcus Boring, 1860 to 1884. Lee Boring, 1899 to 1901, another baby. Lena Boring, the only date on the stone is 1901, so we're guessing it was probably a child that born and died that year. We have Loretta Boring, 1924 to 1927, another just a baby, 3 years old. Those are heartbreaking. Martha Ellen Blevins Boring, 1878 to 1914, with her husband Thomas Henry Boring, and they called him Boy, 1875 to 1934. Mary Elizabeth Boring, 1871 to 1889. Nancy Harrison Boring, 1840 to 1888. Sally Gorley Boring Clark, 1899 to 1974. Ina Mae Boring Bryant, 1928 to 1989. Arvil Ray Coda, November the 4th of 1912 to November the 6th of 1912. And that little fella only lived 2 days. We have Lois Magdalene Coda, September 1918 to March of 1919, only 6 months old. Clarence Marvin Correll, 1932 to 1994, and Clarence was a veteran of the U.S. Army. We actually have a photo of him. Now we have James David Correll, 1840 to 1905. Joseph Thomas, also known as Joe Correll, 1907 to 1962. Mary Calla Correll, 1864 to 1889. Mose Correll, 1937 to 2009. Nancy Gardner Correll, 1878 to 1931. Nancy E. Harrington Correll, 1842 to 1906. Nick Correll, 1901 to 1969, with his wife Verna Bell Heron Correll, and she was 1905 to 1969. And she passed away in February, and he passed away the following May. Sad. We actually found a photo of them. Now we have an unknown member of the Correll family that we don't have any dates for this person. And now we have Walter Correll, 1913 to 1983, and he served as a sergeant in the U.S. Army during World War II. William H. Correll, known as Bill, 1873 to 1946. Ada Matheson DeBeauty, 1889 to 1972. And I'm sorry if that pronunciation of that last name is not correct, so forgive me. We've got her husband Emerson Etheridge DeBeauty, 1864 to 1933. Marshall C. DeBeauty, 1926 to 2007. Marshall served in the U.S. Navy during World War II. Now we have Thomas Gorley, and we have no birth date for him, but he died in 1892. And we know that Thomas served in Company C of the 13th Tennessee Cavalry during the Civil War. And he was mustered in on October the 28th of 1863. Now, Thomas was actually taken prisoner, though we don't know where or when, and was later paroled and remained under medical treatment as of April the 2nd of 1865. Next we have Bessie Pearl Goba Gorley, 1900 to 1928, and Perry Gorley. And we don't have any dates for them, but you'll notice their headstone. It's in memory of, and we're guessing they were married, and also wondering if this was just a cenotaph and they're not actually buried here. We don't know anything about them. And now we have Betty Gorley, 1883 to 1902. Charles Green, also known as Charlie Gorley, 1887 to 1944. We have another Charles Gorley, 1867 to 1945, and his wife, Dolly Ebby Oni Blutina Smith Gorley. Now that is a long name. 1866 to 1952. Now is Donald M. Gorley, 1900 to 1978, and his wife Dora, 1907 to 2004. Henry Harrison Gorley, 1855 to 1937, with his wife Margaret Lou Smith Gorley, 1858 to 1922. Isaac Ross Gorley, 1900 to 1939. John Gilbert Gorley, 1938 to August of 1938. He was born in February, so the little fella was just 6 months old. Lucy Gorley, 1898 to 1916. Luther Gorley, 1897 to 1918. Opal Vera Gorley, she was born and she passed on September the 16th of 1928. Rosa Young Gorley, 1928 to 2011, and her husband Willard Laverne Gorley, 1928 to 1990. And we have a picture of his military headstone. And he served as a corporal in the U.S. Army during the Korean War. And now is Troy C. Gorley, 1940 to 1979. Albert Montgomery Heron, 1899 to 1903. And he was only 4 years old. Cecil Dale Heron, 1925 to 1998. Charlie W. Heron, 1897 to 1977, and his wife, Zeddy C. Heron, 1897 to 1969. Gilbert Gamble Heron, 1878 to 1963, along with his wife, Nancy Virginia Catherine Whitehead Heron, 1871 to 1956. And now we have Hope DeBeauty Marine, 1918 to 2011, and her husband, Kenneth Blaine Marine, 1918 to 2012. And they were both school teachers. And here's a photo of her. And here's a picture of him. Now, Kenneth saw combat in Europe during World War II, and he was a long-time woodworker. Many of his handmade dulcimers have been sold across the United States. So if you have a dulcimer that's got that last name in it, you know where it came from. Let's move on. We got Daniel Green Matheson, 1843 to 1910. And he served in Company B of the 4th Tennessee Infantry in the Union Army during the Civil War. Now is his wife, Emily Hazelton Smith Matheson, 1845 to 1920. George Washington Matheson, 1874 to 1932. Ellen Norwood, and we don't have any dates for her. Here's another Fanny Arrowwood Parton, 1895 to 1919. James Montgomery Smith, 1826 to 1883. Now you'll notice the backward S, and you'll see it on his headstone here. Do you see that? And this was his pottery mark. He was in the pottery business with the Razars and the Grandstaffs. All you guys who collect pottery, this is some good history here. They were all related, and William was well known, as his pottery mark was a crescent moon. So let me know if you got any of that. Now we have Baxter Earl Whitehead, 1908 to 1964. Caleb Whitehead to 1848 to 1900. I got backwards. And his wife Cordelia, known as Delia Hal Tolley Allen Whitehead, 1850 to 1923. And here's a photo of her. We have Cynthia Whitehead. I am getting so tongue-tied. 1860 to 1897. And here's another Fanny Arrowwood Whitehead, 1840 to 1935, with her husband James, 1840 to 1872. Here's his military stone. James served with the Company A of the 6th Indiana Cavalry in the Union Army during the Civil War. And here's a picture of her. And here's another one. Now at the time, you guys got to listen to this. At the time of her death, she had 29 living grandchildren, 15 grandchildren that had passed away, 83 great-grandchildren, 5 great-grandchildren that had passed away, 5 great-great-grandchildren, and 1 great-great-grandchild that had passed away. That's a lot of children. Let's move on. We have Guy Kenneth Whitehead, December of 1903 to March of 1904, just under 3 months old. Hannah Magnolia Boone Whitehead, 1883 to 1916. Her husband Monroe Whitehead, 1875 to 1974. And look at this picture of her. We also have their infant daughter, who was born on September the 10th of 1912 and had passed away the following day. Now is James Alexander Whitehead, 1896 to 1935. Jephthah Whitehead, and he was born in 1896, but we don't know the date of his death. We have John Whitehead, 1813 to 1891. Lucretia or Creasy Whitehead. We don't have any dates for her. Lucy Ann Morton Whitehead, 1884 to 1915. Samuel Whitehead, 1871 to 1925. Thomas Andrew Whitehead, 1813 to 1896, and we have his original headstone. We read that the holes you see in his headstone are from a .50 caliber rifle, and they were due to a dispute over the Civil War. That's something. And according to our source, he may have fought in the Union, so that's highly possible. Now there's a photo of his Newark stone, and you'll notice the word Grantser. We're not sure what it means. And Thomas was known as Whispering Tom. Ooh, I'd like to know some history about that too. Let's move on. We got William H. Whitehead, September 1925 to 1926. In January, it's only 4 months old when it passed, bless his heart. William Burnett, known as Pete Williams, 1964 to 1992. Now, there's 4 people buried here that have no pictures of their graves, and they are Rachel Ann Whitehead Heron, 1805 to 1891, Elizabeth Oakes Whitehead, 1815 to 1880, and she was the wife of Thomas Andrew Whitehead that we looked at earlier. We have Mary Whitehead, 1866 to 1891, and the very last person in this cemetery is Mary Helen Boring Williams, 1944 to 2019. Now, I know that we didn't have a lot of pictures in this cemetery. There is some bits of some really cool history. If you guys out there are hunting for ancestors, I would hope that you would subscribe to our channel. If we can find some pictures, or if you have pictures of people that have been on here on our videos and we don't have the picture, I would love to see that. But we hope you found ancestors. We hope you found this interesting. I know this was a little bit longer, but we just wanted to get this cemetery all in one video. So be sure to like and subscribe and share and hit the notification buttons. And you can find us right here. So we'll see you next week, hopefully, Lord willing, with another video of the Great Smoky Mountain Cemeteries. And we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.